Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Hinchy, and I am the owner of Adrian Grief Support. And I am happy that you found us here, but I am very, very sorry that you needed to. So today is our first Facebook Live of what I'm going to call Grief Club. And the first rule of Grief Club is that we do talk about it, because there's not enough talking about grief in our culture, in our society, in our families, and our friends. There's just not enough openness. There's not enough transparency. There's not enough authenticity around the grief conversation. So I aim to change that one conversation at a time. So today, I want to talk about brightsiding. Brightsiding is something that I observe far too often as a grief educator, and thought today's a good day to talk about it. So, what is brightsiding? Brightsiding is when someone tries to shine a flashlight on your grief and tell you, look, it's not that dark. It's when they try to put a positive spin on something that has completely wrecked your life. And it's done with good intentions, but that doesn't make it helpful. You have probably heard it before. Uh, at least you had them for as long as you did. Maybe you've heard, try to focus on the good, or everything happens for a reason. My personal favorite, least favorite, they wouldn't want you to be sad. So I want to be clear. This isn't support. It's brightsiding. It is a way of avoiding the reality of your pain by trying to skip ahead to some forced vision of peace or gratitude. The truth of the matter is that grief does not need to be brightened up. It doesn't need someone to put a positive vibes only sticker on it. Grief needs space. It needs acknowledgement. It needs someone who can sit with you without trying to fix you. I think that brightsiding sends the message that your pain is too much. Maybe it's time to move on, or cheer up, or get back to being the version of you that other people were more comfortable with, the pre-grief you. What brightsiding does is tells you to hide your grief because it is inconvenient for other people. So I want to say something that is very important in this conversation. Grief is not a problem to solve. It is a reality to survive. Why do we brightside? We live in a culture that is obsessed with positivity. It's topically positive. It focuses on keeping things light, cheerful, comfortable on the surface. Don't get me wrong, positivity is very, very important. I am a very positive person. I love encouraging people. I love shining the light of positivity into any little dark places where you might have self-doubt, fear, or discouragement. I do believe that that light can help people feel hope again, especially when they're facing challenges, or they're stuck in their head, or they're dealing with life's typical ups and downs, when they're in that kind of a mindset. But grief is not that. Grief is not a mindset problem. Grief is not something to fix with a pep talk or a positive spin. Grief is natural, grief is normal, and it deserves to be felt, expressed, and witnessed, not covered up with optimism. So that's really what people in grief, especially new grief, really need. They need someone who will just listen. No advice, no silver linings, just someone who will sit quietly, hear the pain, and stay. That's it. Because when we are drowning in grief, what we need is for someone to witness, to hear the words that will become very shortly, we become afraid to say them out loud because we know that our pain upsets others. We need someone to let us cry without immediately handing us a tissue. Here, wipe away those tears. They're making me really uncomfortable. Get rid of the evidence. We need some people to just let us scream sometimes without wincing away from the sound, right? Or maybe just sit in silence without trying to change anything. There is something very deeply human about needing our grief to be seen. When someone witnesses our pain, truly sees it without trying to fix it or rush it, we begin to feel less alone. And in grief, where nothing can be fixed, nothing can be changed, being less alone, that's everything. So here's where it gets tricky. There is something that I have noticed in the grief world among people who experienced a major loss a long time ago, and they are now further along in their healing. Sometimes they seem to get this weird, what I'm calling grief amnesia. They forget what it was like. They forget the shock, the despair, the feeling of not wanting to be here. They'll say things like, you can choose healing over pain, or you have to let go and move forward, or you must embrace joy. And I know that those words are meant to be encouraging. But to someone who is newly broken, to someone who is in grief, they feel impossible. Because grief isn't about choices, it's about survival. It's about getting through the next hour, the next minute without collapsing. There's no choosing joy when it feels like your heart's been ripped out. So while they might not be technically bright-siding in the same way that general society does it to grievers, these kinds of comments, I feel, are just as dismissive. They can make the griever feel like they are failing at grief because you're not healing fast enough. You're not thinking positive enough. You're not choosing the right mindset. When I was in early grief, I felt like an animal caught in a trap. And I swear to you, I would have chewed my leg off to get away from it. That is the level of pain that we're talking about. So no, there is no shortcut. There's no escape. There's only through, one breath at a time. And I am so sorry to be the one saying this out loud. I wish it wasn't true. I wish there was an easier way. But I also think that most of you, especially if you're in it right now, you already know. You feel it. You've suspected it every time someone maybe offers you a quick little fix or shallow comfort, and you walk away and you are still shattered. This truth is hard, but it's honest. And I believe in grief, honesty is kindness. You are not broken. You are grieving. You are doing the hardest thing that a human being can do. And no matter how unbearable it feels, you are here, still breathing, Still putting one foot in front of the other, even if it's just across the room. That matters. It's enough for today. You're not failing. You're grieving. That's the work, that's the reality, and this is what it feels like. And yes, it feels worse than anything. I'm so sorry. So here's what's more helpful, what people could say. Maybe you're watching this and you're not in grief, but you're wondering what you can say if you want to support someone in grief, but you're not sure. Instead of saying everything happens for a reason, try saying, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And then match your action to your words. Don't go anywhere. But don't say everything happens for a reason, because when someone's whole world has just fallen apart, trying to assign meaning to it does not comfort, it alienates. So just being present without trying to explain the unexplainable is far more powerful. It's far better support. Instead of saying they wouldn't want you to be sad, try saying you do not have to be okay right now. This lets the grieving person feel what they feel without guilt. Grief is sad. It's the saddest thing in the world. It's the saddest you'll ever feel. Telling someone to deny their sadness, even if it's in the name of the person they lost, they wouldn't want you to. That's just adding shame to pain. Let them be human. Grieving is human. Instead of saying, I can't imagine what you're going through, try saying, I can't imagine how painful this is, but I want to hear about it if you want to share. I can't imagine kind of lands as a full stop. Their pain is too much to talk about. I can't imagine your pain. So if you invite someone to share, if they want to, it opens the door to a connection and it reminds them they're not alone. And instead of saying, at least you had them as long as you did, try saying, you love them so much, so of course this hurts. At least statements really minimize grief. And grief is the biggest thing that the griever has ever felt. At least tries to shrink the pain by focusing on what wasn't lost. But grief doesn't work like that. We need to validate the depth of the pain. And acknowledging the depth of the love does validate the depth of the pain. This one is really important. Instead of saying, let me know if there's anything I can do, which is standard, I know it is. Try saying something else like, I want to help. Can I drop off a meal? Can I run an errand? Can I put gas in your car? Can I just sit with you for a while? The first, saying, let me know if there's anything that I can do, puts pressure on the griever to come up with a task, which most won't. I call this statement writing a check that cannot be cashed. It is asking the griever to come up with something that you can do to make them feel better. Number one, you can't make it better. Number two, they can't be expected to know what they need. I didn't know what I needed other than my person back. So if you offer clear, simple help without making them ask for it, because in grief, asking can feel impossible, that helps. None of these better responses are about fixing anything. They're about staying. They're about listening. They're letting someone know their pain does not scare you, that you're willing to sit next to their sorrow without reaching for a happy broom to sweep it away, because that's what grief support really is. It's presence, not platitudes. So if you have been on the receiving end of brightsiding or grief amnesia, I'm sorry. You deserve better than that. You deserve someone who will say, yes, this is awful. No, you're not crazy. No, you don't have to do it alone, because grief is not something that you get over. It's something you carry. And over time, it does change. You change. But none of that happens because someone forced light down your throat. It happens when you feel seen, heard, and allowed to be just exactly as you are. You don't need to choose healing. You don't need to let go. If you are in grief, you need to breathe. You need to cry. You need to rage. You need to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And you need people around you who won't try to paint over your pain with bright siding. If you have been bright-sided, if you're in that place where what you really need is someone to witness your grief and not try to fix it, reach out. Maybe it's me you reach out to. Maybe it's someone else, a grief-trained therapist, clergy person, a friend. Maybe it's a group, whether that's an intentional weekly grief group or a community online, like a Facebook group full of people who really understand, who get it. Reach out to others who get it. You do not have to carry this on your own. And I guess that's what I have to say about this. My dog is now starting to bang around in his crate behind me, so I think that's probably my cue to wrap this up. I started a Substack this week. So if you enjoy reading what I write and you'd like to get posts of no Brightsiding in your email, go sign up for it. I'll post it at the top of my Facebook and Instagram pages, and I hope that you subscribe. I hope that I'll be able to expand that quite a bit and maybe do a lot more with it in the future. But I just want to remind all of you that grief is natural. Grief is human. It's about as human a thing as we can do. And of course, it's supposed to hurt when someone you love dies. It's supposed to hurt. You're not doing it alone. All right. I'm sending love to each and every one of you. And I really, really hope that this helps you. If you're here looking for a way to help others in grief, I hope this gives you some ideas on how you can do that and pass it on. All right. Good night.